This is big breaking emergency news. We are now seeing a nationwide phone outage and blackout is happening right now. Millions of people around the country in multiple different states are being affected, and multiple different phone service providers are being affected as well. So this is very suspicious, very strange, and this is hitting some of the top providers in the country right now, like Verizon, AT&T, and a few other cellular providers as well, are having major outages. People can't text, they can't call, and they can't call 911 either. So let's get into the details here really quick. Please hit that like, hit that subscribe. I'm posting every day for you guys, keeping you updated on this big news. All right, so you can see here, this is a map of the outages that are happening right now. This is affecting multiple states. They're reporting at least 24 states right now are reporting some type of outage from this. AT&T and Verizon, T-Mobile's being affected, Cricket is being affected. All these different cell phone companies are reporting major outages, and people are saying that their service hasn't worked all day, right? You can see here, here's a report from Down Detector showing all the different services that are down. Consumer Cellular, US Cellular, T-Mobile, Cricket are all experiencing outages as well right now. You can see here's a map of just the people that are being hit for Verizon, and let me know if you have these providers, if you are being hit right now, because lots of people have been commenting on these articles and these outages, saying that they're out right now, right? You can see here, people are saying this was comments on the Verizon one. It said down in Ohio. It said down in Minnesota. Can't make or receive calls. This is today in the past few hours. No one can call into the phone either. It says down in downtown Chicago. Can't make or receive calls. It says cell phone service is down in Southwest Michigan. Can't make or receive any calls. My 5G home internet is down in Tennessee. Restarted the box and still unable to connect. And Verizon Fios is down in White Plains, New York. That's what commenters were saying on this map here for Verizon. All right, so this is a composite of all the different outages that are happening right now, and this is specifically Verizon. It seems like the Northeast is getting hit hardest right now. New York, Boston, Washington, all right, this part of the country is experiencing major outages. LA as well, according to data that we have publicly available, and it could be even worse than this, right? This is what AT&T is reporting, outages in Chicago, right, Illinois, near Iowa, Dallas, Houston, Tampa, Florida being affected, Seattle, Washington, right? All these different places are having, people are having no service, and they're even saying it's affecting their Verizon Fios too. So it's affecting the towers, and it's also affecting the lines as well, the direct lines, which normally aren't affected by this. So there could be something bigger going on. Maybe some type of major cable was cut. Do you remember that last month, maybe 2 months ago now, they were blaming these nationwide 911 outages on a, quote, cable being cut? That's what they're saying. This could be some type of cyber attack, all right? We have seen a lot of escalations over in the World War III arena, right? With the US, Ukraine, and Russia. The US just authorized to send US munitions into Russia, all right? So that happened just in the past week, and now we are seeing all these outages and attacks. I'm not saying they are connected, but they could be. The timing of this, okay? There's also happening in London right now too. Check this out. London hospitals hit by cyber attacks that are impacting blood transfusions, okay? All the major providers are redirecting people, and they are telling people not to come because they cannot access their blood transfusion database, and they can't match people up, right? All these things are pre-planned and matched out, all these surgeries, and it has been disrupted, right? So this is what would happen before something big, even bigger would happen, a kinetic physical attack, is that these services would go offline. The cell phone, the hospitals would all go offline before there's a physical attack. I'm not saying there's going to be from this, but this could be a dry run for something even bigger. And this is why it's critical to have alternative forms of communication, right? You should have a cell phone, you should have wired internet, and maybe have different companies for them, right? If you have Verizon cell phone, maybe have a different company for your wired internet. And look into things like satellite internet as well. That's something that we just added to our preps and our homestead just recently, is satellite internet, and it's a game changer, because before we were just working with hotspots and it was not sustainable. It was not working. We couldn't get the wired internet out here where we're at. So that was pretty much our only option, is to get satellite, and it's a game changer, right? So look into satellite internet, but even that can have disruptions as well. They were reporting a couple weeks ago when they were having this major solar event, right? Do you remember all that chaos? There was outages with the satellite internet. So let me know down below if you're experiencing any of these outages. They're even saying Cricket Wireless is having a major outage right now, which I think piggybacks off of AT&T. Yeah, it says right here, Cricket Wireless is owned by AT&T and uses its network, right? So it's like a piggyback network to it. They're having disruptions as well. Consumer Cellular is having major disruptions. Also US Cellular. So let me know if this is happening to you. These things can happen quick, right? And they are even raising the threat level in NATO countries right now. Denmark just raised the threat level for a destructive cyber attack from 3 to 5 on the level scale, right? That's what they just raised it to. And they're saying that it used to be, or 3 out of 5, not 3 to 5. Sorry about that. 3 out of 5. I misspoke on that. So it's level 3 out of level 5, which is the most extreme. So it was at level 1 before, it was low. Now it's at level 3, where it's possible that this could happen, could potentially happen. And the higher levels, 5, is that there's an imminent attack that they know of that's going to happen, right? So they're setting the stage for this, and we have to be aware of even things like false flag scenarios as well, where these situations can be taken advantage of, right? I'm not saying they're going to be, but they could be. So make sure you guys are getting prepared. Make sure you are getting ready, right? Because they are setting the stage for something big. They're talking about military conscription, right? Talking about a military draft in the UK. They're talking about something similar in Australia, okay? And they're also talking about in Australia as well, allowing foreign countries to join their military, citizens of foreign countries to join the military, right? And also people that have only been there in the country for 1 year, they're allowing them to join the military in Australia, right? So these stages are being set. It seems like they are prepping for something big, and these could be the repercussions of it, and the birthing pains of it is these major disruptions. And this is what would happen preemptively for a direct hit on the United States, is that our communications would be disrupted, so local authorities could not respond, right? Police, ambulances cannot respond. This is already happening in London right now, and this has happened at least a dozen times over the past year, where hospital networks have been cyber attacked in the US and been disrupted. It happens at least once a month. I see an article of a hospital network taken offline, and they're diverting patients, and their ER is shut down, right? And it's due to these disruptions and these attacks. And this is what they would do before a kinetic attack, right? Even things like satellite communications would be targeted as well, and they've even talked about that. Do you remember this big ordeal a few months ago as well? They're saying that there are now nuclear weapons in space, right? And I've been talking about this for at least 2 years, how there are, quote, satellite killer weapons that are deployed in space that China has, the US has, and a few months ago there was an uproar because it was disclosed that Russia has the same weapons too, right? So all the big superpowers have these nuclear weapons in space, which are essentially just EMP weapons that would fry any satellites within a certain range, and would also potentially create a region where whenever the satellites pass through, there's now, because there's a ton of metal and magnetic material inside of these satellites. This is one of the main problems with satellites, and I love satellite internet and communications, but this is one of the main problems with it, is that when these satellites degrade or they're destroyed, when they break down, they're going to release a ton of metallic material, okay, and magnetic material as well, and it's going to even disrupt parts of the Earth's magnetic field. They've done studies on this. It has a name for it. I can't remember what it's called, but it's something that could happen as well from these EMP weapons. They could just create a part where it's a dead zone for the satellites, and if the satellites pass through it, which they're already on their predetermined path, then they could be knocked out too, because there's just there's a magnetic field here that's disruptive now from all the material, right? So that's another thing. And also EMP weapons that could be targeted at the grid, right? Could be targeted at these cell phone towers. Think about it. These balloons, all these things that are allowed to cross into our airspace all the time. This is constantly happening. These rockets are in our airspace. There was a Chinese rocket that burned up over Los Angeles a few months ago. I made a whole video on it. All right. There was a NOTAM issued for Russian rockets off the coast of Los Angeles a couple weeks ago as well. All right. So these things are happening, and they could have weapon systems on them too. These satellites and these EMP weapons could be targeted and directed to hit certain targets. They could have directed energy weapons on them, which is just another form of an electromagnetic pulse, right? If you're going to fry the electronics with a directed energy weapon, it's going to have the same exact effect, right? This is a weapons category that they're all very similar, okay? And there's also directed energy weapons, high-powered lasers. You can even buy them, right? Where you can start a fire from very far distances. And even the Forest Service and these agencies, they use these laser ignitions to do controlled burns. Right? That's what they do. And you can bet that there are weapon systems, satellite systems that are flying over the US every single day that have directed energy weapons on them as well, and could potentially be used to start fires, to fry and disrupt electronics, okay? Also happening right now, keeps happening, is there's GPS dead zones in Europe on the border of Russia and Ukraine. in other countries that border Russia, right? They're having major dead zones of their GPS and also of their radar systems, right? They're going offline because they're being jammed. So that's another possibility as well, that these cell phone towers and these signals are being disrupted and jammed externally. That's another possibility besides just internal things like cyber attacks, where it's some kind of disruption of their computer systems, or some kind of overwhelming, some kind of DDoS attack where they overwhelm the systems with too many requests, right? Denial of service attack. There's a lot of other possibilities that could be happening, right? So please hit it up for me down there, guys, to help get this warning out. This is big. Nationwide outages are being reported. People are saying that their phone and internet has been disrupted, and this is why you need to have a generator. You need to have backup forms of communication. You need to have your tanks filled up, ready to go. You need to have your prepper pantry filled up with canned goods, 20-pound bags of rice. Also, working on your homestead, working on your chickens, on your animals, on your garden, right? That's critical as well too. That's what we're working on here as well. All these things I just named, this is what we're working on. Also, baking your own things, baking from scratch. Learn how to bake goods. It saves you a ton of money, and we could be in a situation at some point where you can only get raw goods. You can only get flour, all right? You can only get salt. You can only get baking soda. There's no mass supply chain. If there's a major power outage, these bakeries, these factories, they're not going to be running, all right? So you need to be able to bake your own goods. You need to have a propane stove or a wood stove, something that can buffer power outages, right? We have our electric stove, but we also have a wood stove too, right? Wood stove fireplace with a top on it that we can use to cook as well in emergencies, all right? So thank you guys. Hope you have big blessings for your life, your family. Thank you guys for all the support and love, and congratulations too. I'm trying to get some more comments and reply to them from a couple days ago. I really appreciate that, and all the support, all the love, all the blessings. Thank you guys, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.